going to learn from each other. So before we get started, some of our guests have seen this film, but I shortened it to about 4 minutes. I want to at least give you the history of our association, and then I'm going to go into the first segment. We'll be dealing with the regulations.
Persons in our community, but we have been the quiet in our community. We do so much in our community that we don't want to boast, and we do it with grace, dignity, and respect. But now we need to tell our story. You go back to the civil rights, Robert Abernathy and all of the prominent civil rights leaders. It was the funeral director that got them from town to town, state to state.
When we look at Selma, Alabama, we have a statue of Martin Luther King Jr. And the purpose of that statue, the funeral just wanted to let everyone know their part in the civil rights movement.
Primarily is African American firms and African descent funeral homes across the globe. Most people do not know that we started with the National Labor Business League that was founded by Dr. Booker T. Washington, and he invited 12 professions in our community, and the funeral director was one. Dr. Washington passed in 1915. And our national organization started in 1924, September 6th. We have districts that were divided into now I think it's about 12 districts worldwide. So we're excited that our international are coming on board for us to help them and them to help us. We do an exchange. Some of the campaigns of community outreach that we do to keep the public aware, not that we're here just to serve you a time of death, we're here to serve you a time of living. And only maybe 5 or 10% we look at what we do for a living is burying people. The other is community service, and that's the issue that funeral directors are your community leaders. In our community, the only form of transportation was the limousine provided by the funeral director during the time of service. Even talking about limousines, most people don't realize in the African American community, the hearse was also considered an ambulance historically. When there was no ambulance service, there were ambulance services provided by funeral homes. People drove in the same hearse that they might use also for a funeral. So the campaign for limos to oppose were, here we have these limousines. Funeral directors are always taking transportation people to the polls. So we came up with a national campaign by one of our state associations in Maryland came up with called the Limousine to the Polls. We do not push what party, who to vote for. We do not endorse candidates. But what we do is say everyone has an opportunity to exercise their vote.
Every year at our national convention, Carol's community provide meals. We have members, students, exhibitors, and hotel workers come together, and we prepare about 10,000 meals. Within that 10,000 meal, one meal will feed a family of 6.
And I think this year we did 61,000 meals that were sent to the Bahamian government.
We also do a Stop the Violence campaign. We're tired of burying our children. So each year, not only the national and our national convention, but also with our states, we do a Stop the Violence rally.
We have been always trained as funeral directors to be present but not seen. That is really key to our industry. And so now we're going to be seen by making sure the next generation is prepared and their children are prepared. When we think about funerals, we're always thinking about, I prefer to use the word loved one. Our association worries more about the living. It's all right to cry, it's all right to mourn, but we also want to remember. And to remember that this person lived and touched our lives, even when we agree to disagree with them, they're still alive in us. So as members of the National Funeral Directors and Mortician Association, we're here to help the living celebrate the life of those who come before us.
Let me say that thank you so much. We're standing on so many people's shoulders. And on behalf of our 68th president, George Durham Jr., who's 40 years old. We have a new president as of August, and the vice president's 41. So guess I'll be the last of the older generation. But I would be remiss if I didn't recognize the district governors. We have 3 district governors from the continent of Africa. And I just want to say, District 10, he left this morning at 4:30, Brother Gama left. And then we have District 11, Tau from Nigeria. And then we have Chisan Bukeo, District 12, the continent of Africa. And I just want to thank you for your leadership. And every time I come home to this great continent, there's always one of them with me. And I just want to thank you. And Dr. Churchman sends her regards. As for to you, she really wished that she did not book on Kenya Airlines, but I won't mess with the airline today. But I'm excited to be here because we're going to share with each other. What I want you to do is, if you go to the first, the Model Practice Act. Now, I'm going to tell you, for those countries that are looking to regulate, you're going to need to email me requesting all the material. Because Ezra, all that material was heavy for the airline. So if I had brought all that material, I would have probably not been able to get that bag on the, thank you so much, that bag on the plane. So if you would like a copy of it, just email me. I'll email you when I get back to the States. And it's about 4 or 5 different regulations. One is dealing with, I'm going to go, is the Model Practice Act. I am it's only been 6 African American presidents with the Conference Board. They started back in 1902 in Arkansas. It used to be affiliated with NFPA, and they are the regulators. So I happen to be president, past president of all the what we call state boards, or in Canada, the 14 provinces. We regulated the funeral industry. And so the material that I'm sharing with you today is actually already been done by the International Conference Board of Funeral Examining Boards. And I've already talked to Daleen Paul, the executive director. So when your country is ready to really put something together, they're there to help you put some things together. All of these are model practices that some of these things might not work in your country, just like some of these items didn't work in every state. But it gave you a guideline of what to do. Now, I know many of the countries was mentioned yesterday as some of the speakers. I was getting excited because every speaker was talking on the same subject matter leading up to what we all want to do is make it a fair playing ground in the funeral industry. In other words, I just don't want anyone just today want to go in the funeral business because they got a car or a truck. I want someone to be trained. I want someone to be committed. I want them to have good character, and I want an even playing ground. Now, in the United States, you might hear a lot of things. They like to use the word competitor. I don't feel I'm competing against you, even from across the street from you. The families that are going to call me. There's enough business in the globe, in every country, that we all can do business. And we need to deal with each other as colleagues and not competitors. Really, the truth be told, I tell them I'm competing against myself. And I'm trying to improve my service and prove how I can help families. So let's get to the bottom line. Where you are is where the United States was. So I'm excited to do a history. I'm a history buff. And when I get into the embalming, I'm going to talk about the history, because what some of you are now doing is how we started. And so just to let you know, that means that the foundation's already been made, and we have to share with each other, just like the new federation's coming. Each continent, each country in this continent has a certain culture and has certain regulations, and hopefully all the regulations will have a universal point, okay? So if you look at the first sheet dealing with the Model Practice Act, and I'm just going to touch a couple of things. I will hit it. I am an advocate about education. When I deal with the embalming segment, I want to let you know that I failed embalming my first time taking embalming. And my professor used to say, I have to call you a cab. So in other words, he said, you failed this course, you can take it in another year, and I had to come back another year, take the course. And not only did I pass the course, I ended up teaching at the same school, and I'm sharing with you what I know. Some will say I'm an expert. Embalming is the practice of the art. So you never master embalming. It's just that you got to keep working at it and keep working at it and keep working at it. Because the bottom line is that family needs to be happy even at a point where they're sad. Now what does that mean? Mama needs to look like mama and daddy needs to look like dad if you embalm. And if you don't embalm, I've seen in South Africa, I thought the person was embalmed the way I saw them look in that casket. And that's a gift. Now in the United States, you must have a written authorization to embalm from that family. Written authorization. That's a big thing. When I was president of the state board, which regulated the funeral directors in Maryland, I used to take a lot of people's licenses, suspend their licenses, and because you didn't have the person's signature authorizing you to embalm their loved one. Does that make sense? That's why there's some funeral directors, that's why regulation is important, because the funeral directors want to just grab the first body they got in their hand. I was helping a firm in mombasa. Am I pronouncing the name? I'm pronouncing the wrong name. What's the city close to, the country close to you, South Africa? Botswana, thank you. I had the wrong line. And the funeral home called me in the United States to help them because I knew them, they were members of the association. And it took us 2 weeks to help them. And then the family said, no, we don't want this funeral home, we want this funeral home. And I told the family, I called myself and said, I don't know this funeral home, but I made a lot of exceptions going to the embassy because of this funeral home. So, in other words, I'm gonna leave this body, I hate to say this, in the United States if you don't use this funeral home. Because we had did all the work, because this was a member of the National Funeral Directors and Morticians Association. And that's the key that we want to make sure that people understand why we want regulations. Now, let me tell you now, some of the ministers of business and health will look at this regulation and, can I take this jacket off? I am just sweating here. I hate to tell you I have my long johns because I'm getting ready to go on the plane, so that's why I'm really sweating. But regulations is good. You know what regulations do? Regulation sets the standard for you to operate your business, but it also makes it a fair playing ground for someone that desires to be in the funeral business. Now, regulation also has a catch to it. If there's rules to follow, every licensee, every funeral home must follow the rules. And eventually, if you don't follow the rules, the government will fine you. The government will close you down. So you can't have it both ways. Have regulations just because you're in the funeral business now, but you're setting a standard that others to follow must follow. I mean, we heard it from our educator. She was sharing some things she didn't know about when her mother died, and the options were not given. Well, in America, grief funerals is regulated by not only the state, but the federal government, better known as the Federal Trade Commission Funeral Rule. And next week, I'll be going to Washington to argue the Federal Trade Commission's changes that they want. Some of the changes are great, but some of the parts in America, cemeteries, crematories are not regulated like the federal government does to funeral homes. That means it's an unfair law. And so I will be speaking on behalf of our portion of the industry and saying laws are for even care. So that's what I want you to understand when you look at this regulation. And I'm telling you, all this information you need, you got to email me because I'm not, it's not all here. I just want to touch it. How we can properly train and educate is important. I'm a professor by hand. I'm going to stay here because I know you're on film. I want to get out that light. That's what I really want to do. You have to be properly trained. And I'm not here to advocate one school. I know Zimbabwe's working on a school. I know South Africa's working on a school. To me, it doesn't make a difference where the school is. What it does make a difference to me is that you understand the fundamentals, not only about the body. And here's the thing, the same thing Taiwu was touching on about the body. You and I have that body that we're going to touch. Now I heard Doc yesterday talk about the physicians regulating. I have a problem physicians regulating funeral directors. Let me tell you why. In the United States, when you're going to medical school, nursing school, dental school, paramedic school, they need a cadaver, a dead body, so they can practice on for sometime a year. Well, that body is prepared by a funeral director. We have to embalm that body, that body preserves for a year. I used to teach first and second year med school students at University of Maryland in Baltimore City, and I used to tell them, don't tell no one you went to medical school because you don't know the body. I taught path, I taught micro, I taught anatomy, and I just said, you don't know the human body, and you're going to be practicing on making people stay alive. So my thing is, when the countries want to talk about having physicians regulate the funeral industry, I need to share some other history with them and some other data to say we need to regulate ourselves. And that's what other countries do. They regulate themselves, not physicians regulating funeral directors. But that's another level that we're going to have to go through once you get the regulation together. Why am I sharing this with you? Until you make the commitment that you want to do this for a living, it's not all about money, even though we got some great people making money, but it's about serving that family that has to be the priority. Now, I know that sounds strange from someone that's in business. I grew up around the funeral business 40-something years, never wanted to do this, but God has a great sense of humor. And I used to work in the hotel business, and I went into association business. I used to be the executive director of the association. And after that, with Dr. Williams and now Mr. Range, I was the youngest executive director for the National. In 2024, we will be 100 years old. So I'm going to say 100. And that convention is going to be in Maryland, but it's really Washington, D.C. So we're going to invite your General Secretary, we're going to invite your ambassador, and we want all of the international ambassadors at this meeting so that we can help you get your visas, okay? Because I know sometimes you have a problem getting visas, it's because they don't know about the organization. Amen? Amen. So let's go with some of this document, then I really want to get the nitty-gritty of the environment, and that'll be the next. So, how many people have gone through the 3 months training for environment? Have anyone went through that 3 months training? Any schooling? Okay. My brother who's injected, so you went to school for 3 months and now you're considered environment in your area, correct? Just to share something with you that you might want to consider when you're injecting the body. The blood makes you live. At death, the blood is your worst enemy because the blood decomposes the body quick, as well as the bile that's on top of the liver. That you see the stomach's turning green, it's because the bile is to eat, and once the body starts functioning, it starts eating itself. So when you put in formula in a body, that blood has to be released. So you need to get a vein. Now, you heard Taiwu say something which I agree. I told Taiwu yesterday that I only embalm by the femoral, If the body is emaciated, that means skin and bone. I want to put weight back on the body. That's right here. Most embalmers in the U.S. and in Europe embalm through the carotid and the jugular. I'm going to show that in a slight film. I'm not going to show it long because I know some of y'all are not used to seeing this. And then I'm going to talk about something. Why am I sharing this? Because you are now the technicians of the body. For those who know the Bible, Genesis, the 50th chapter, verses 2, verses 3, verses 26. And it says, and they embalm the body. So you are biblical, which you're talking about doing. Can I get another thing? I know that's in the Word of God. Here's another thing. I know I'm in Africa, and brothers, please bear with me. When I used to teach, I just tell my female students, you were the first funeral directors, talking about the female in the New Testament, because it was Mary and Martha and the other Mary that went to anoint the body of Jesus. It wasn't a man's job. It was a woman's job. And so when the women are in their rightful place doing their job, then the brothers, we can do our job, which was carry him from the cross and entomb him. That's all biblical. It's not my words, it's his words. Now, since I've given you some biblical base, that means you've been called to serve God's people at the most vulnerable time, and you must be regulated because the Bible regulates our life. Did I give you some base now? And that's what you're going to have to use to your educators and to your politicians. And whoever your politician is, every funeral director should know their local representative. Whatever name you call them, alderman, council, whatever name. It is your responsibility to make sure they know you and your business. So sometimes you're going to have to financially support them when they're running for re-election. You might not agree with their politics. Am I right, Doc? Okay? But they're the ones that are going to help you to expand in what you need to do, and you must play that game. No matter what country we're in, they all understand. I don't care if it's Naira, Rand, whatever. What is we're in Kenya? It's called shilling. It don't make a difference. USA, I call them the presidential obituary. All the founding fathers are on the back. And so sometimes my people used to say to me, how did you get where you are? I'm in the computer. And they said, what do you mean you're in the computer? I made contributions to the politicians who I might not always agree, but they're in a seat to help the bigger objective. And just like these organizations that we're in, no matter if it's Kenya's organization, the Federation, NFDMA, we all have to understand the responsibility we have in our community. So wait, close. What did you got an article here talking about the richness of the black funeral tradition. This story was done over 3 years. I only gave you about 3 pages, but I love the last page. Some of y'all can't see the last page. But the last page is from our convention that was in New Orleans. And there's a woman in there, she's dressed on the stage. We were having worship before we started the year. So when you send me that email, that story, that article is really heavy because it goes into some depth situations, telling about the history of what we do in America. But can I be honest with you? What we do in America came from the continent of Africa. No matter what country you're from, we're still following your traditions in America. We just shorten the time. Unless I bury in Muslim faith as well. And if they're Orthodox, they must be done by the end of the day. But if it's a traditional American family, I'm now waiting 2 to 3 weeks now to bury. So my embalming skill better be up par. And I'll be honest with you, last night, let me apologize. I got a phone call from my office on 2 cases, and I had them send me the pictures. That's why I walked down. I'm sorry I didn't come down. I was like, no, where's the embalmer? Put them on the phone. And I can tell, if you let me see your embalming, that body, I can tell you how to correct the body. I can tell you what fluid you use in that body. And I'm going to make you correct that body before you go home, or you will not have a job. Sounds kind of rough, isn't it? Yeah. But that's somebody's mother. That's someone's child. It's not a body. It's somebody's child. They might not have been married. They might not be someone's father, but that's somebody's child. And to the owners and to the managers, if your staff does not treat that body with respect, then you need to fire them. Can I be honest with you? My wife was here, she'll stop laughing. I fired my wife. I have 4 children, I fired 2 of them. It is not personal, it is business, and everyone doesn't have the right attitude to do what we do. And it's not personal to say, you're fired. And I pay my wife not to come to the funeral. I'm not that crazy. Okay. Well, why am I sharing that? I share it because some of you are from family businesses and you got people in the family that don't have a personality, and then the public picks up that personality and your business is faltering. That's why we need regulations, that we can make sure some of those personalities can't come into the fold. Sounds harsh, doesn't it? No, it's not. Those young people in the back, when you end up taking over your funeral home or you're starting your funeral home and you start with the right attitude, you do not want your staff coming behind with an attitude. So when you're firing your family, it lets your staff know they're next. That sounds harsh. Y'all can talk about me when I leave. Now, all the accolades of the certifications, they are good. That's just a continuing education. And Ezra, that's where the foundation, the federations going to come in and the associations. Once you have the regulations, continued education like this is going to be necessary. You know, just to, you know, you might not agree with the person presenting, but you're going to learn something from that person. I mean, I watched and listened to Ty so presentation. It's all in my presentation. Yesterday I listened to our colleague out of South Africa. I mean, I just looked at it and I kept saying, how are you doing all of that? I mean, it's a lot. That was a big operation she had. But her bigger operation and your 100 families or your 250 families, whatever number you do a year, your operation is just as big as her operation. You agree? Y'all asleep. So if 100 families call you to serve you, are they not just as important as a firm that does 1,000 or 2,000? So every person that calls you, you must treat them like they are the most important thing in their community. No matter if they have money or they don't have money. You will find those who have money don't want to spend their money. Amen? See, we're talking real nitty-gritty now. So here's what I tell people in America. How much does it cost for you to run your business? They're like, what are you talking about? I said, how much is your gas? How much is your insurance? How much is your electric bill? How much is your gas bill? Do you have staff limits? How much do you pay them? Add all that up, divide it by 12, and that's telling you how much you need to operate your business per month. Until you understand that, you will not know how you're running your business, because regulation is going to base on sometimes in some areas how many cases. I just joined a new organization. They had asked me, the National Select, it's like the Qantas Club in America. It's only about 150 funeral homes. Asked me to join their association. But you know how much they're charging me to join? $4,000. And I'm trying to figure out, when am I going to get it? But I'm joining for the information so that I can bring it back to NFDMA. You understand? You can belong to all the organizations, NFDA, International, ICCFA, OGR, but you should be bringing back the information to your own state association or the federation, whatever name we're going to call the state that you're organizing, the country you're organizing, and bring in information that all of us benefit. Regulation is just that. It's a playground. Now, I'm going to only go through a few, and I know, I hope I'm not going too fast because I've been known to go fast. The Model Practice Act for the funeral service was done by the International Conference Board. You see that information. And like I said, Daylene Hall, the executive director, is aware I'm sharing this. And she had to remind me that when I was president, I was the only president that actually traveled internationally. And that's why we were in Bologna, Italy, when Safa didn't have a seat. And I shared this at Safa. They didn't have a seat at the table. And the conference board did. And then it turned around, Safa had the seat at the table. And NFDMA did not. And that NFDMA is an actor. We have a seat in the secondary level, but we have a seat at the table. So here you'll see an outline. And I didn't want to go over all of it, but some of it's kind of enhanced. There's qualifications for what we consider a funeral director. Some people call it a ranger. There's qualifications for an embalmer. So those are definitions. But I'd like you to go to page number page number 9. I'm going to just deal with those and then go into the embalmer. It gives definitions of what an embalmer. And I have to say, Taru touched something. In my state of Maryland, we are one licensed state. And that license is called a mortician. In my state, the mortician is a licensed funeral director and a licensed embalmer. So there's 2 licenses in one. I'm licensed in 7 different states. And most of the states I'm licensed as an embalmer. So that means I can embalm, I can go over the state line, and it's just like the Federation's trying to do. That if I'm licensed in one state, I should be able to go into another state. But in America, you have to be licensed each individual state that you're going to do business. And so I was smart enough to think about licensing myself in all the states that touch Maryland. So that way my families do not have to hire another funeral director. I can continuously serve in another state. Now there's a fee for that, but they're not going to pay the fee like they would have paid another individual funeral. It makes it easy. So the definition based on this conference board talks about the embalmer is a person that engaged in business practice of science of professional embalming. It's kind of crazy because saying I'm a embalmer is about embalming, but it's the next point that's really important. It's about the chemical treatment of dead human remains. When I get ready to do the next segment, you heard Taru talk about PPE, personal protection equipment. Now I did some research. I kind of like went on YouTube and saw some embalming. And I realized that in Kenya particularly, some can embalm in the hospital. And then I saw some films that people were embalming in their, I'm going to say their their viewing room, where the families come to view. And I got some suggestions in the next section, how you can get the smell out of the building, okay? I also have some suggestions what you can do to camouflage the smell. But when you're using the formulant, one takes it, first I'm only using 20% formulant, and that's 20% of 100% chemical. That is a strong chemical. And I didn't see the person put any water in the device. Yeah, I didn't see any water. So I was kind of, if a person has what we call an edema, for those embalmers, that means that person's already got a lot of water in them. So it's called waterless embalming. So yes, you would not want to put water with the formula because there's enough water in the body. But You want to have the water to break up the fluid. And that's another terminology you must go to school about. And I reached out to some of the schools to ask the professors, when they say formally, what is the concentration of the fluid? Because that's where the problem is lying. Because if you don't understand the concentration of the fluid, you are burning up a body, and if you're not draining that body's blood, you are causing yourself an unhappy family and a body that might be around a little longer than you want. And now you have an issue that the body is smelling so bad that the families are getting sick. Even the funeral director and his staff. Because you have a decomposing body that just has chemicals in it. But you haven't taken out the what? The blood. That's a sermon within itself. The blood makes you live. But at death, the blood is your worst enemy. Now, in the next segment, I want to talk about how you can do some things. And then you have to get some mops. You don't have no drain in that room. You have to get some mops and get you some chemicals like the pneumonia. And I wanted to go to the grocery store as well. Because some of the suggestions I have where they can handle the smells of those bodies is right in your grocery stores. Things that you wouldn't even think about. It's listed on that next packet on the bottom. Stuff that you say that don't make sense. That's why it makes sense. Because you don't think it makes sense. Okay? I'm saying it with a smile because the worst people to serve sometimes are funeral directors and preachers. Because they're so smart. They're so smart. They're using the wrong sense. I'm used to think about you. Here you are an educator, and you wasn't educated on the choices for her mother. And you know what? We're all guilty across the globe. You must educate, and you must educate so that the consumer, the family, can make a wise choice. They make the first wise choice by selecting you. The second choice is to make sure they have the options that need to be prevalent. I tell you one thing, in America, cremation is #1 over burials. At one time, I was only doing 2% cremation. I'm now doing 40% cremation. When cremation started in America, everyone thought it was just being about direct cremation. 98% of my 40% cremation with a full service. I don't care if they want to be cremated, buried, entombed. If you don't want mama embalmed, 2 or 3 people will see mama, and that's it. This is a health issue. Does it make sense? This body is a health issue, not only to the family, but to you and your staff. Now, I'm an embalmer. I prefer to stay in the embalmer room. Don't let me make no arrangements, because I've been giving all that business away, so my staff make sure I don't make arrangements. But I will see that family, but I will not come around when they make arrangements, because I'm taking away money out of their mouth, as they remind me as staff members, even though they all get paid better than I do. Okay? Why am I sharing this? Part of the regulations that you need is making you a better business person. In America, as mentioned, we have the Federal Trade Commission funeral group. Funeral directors in the African American community argued they didn't want it. And when it existed in 1984, it made them better business person. Everything had to be itemized. You had to have a general price list. I bet you if I walk in some of y'all funeral homes right now, you don't even have an itemization of your services. That family should be able to pick and choose the services. And what that means, everything you do should have a price to it. That family knows that they're coming to you, they must pay. But if you're not providing them the cost of your services, you're not taking care of business. Does that make sense? Yeah. So younger people, let me say this to some of the older ones that you work for don't get it. I see y'all using the phone. I see those young ladies on that computer over there. I see that young lady on the camera. You know technology. What you need to do to the owners and to the managers is sit down and say, listen, can I give you a suggestion? Give them the suggestion, put it in writing, don't just talk it, put it in writing, and let them chew on it. Does that make sense? You can't force technology on the generation that started the business, or if you inherit the business, my grandmama did this way, my grandfather, my mama and daddy, see, that's what you got to deal with. I have young people and I had to learn to let them show me a different way to look at it. Now, let me talk to my generation over. You will not be doing this forever. Let me smile when I say it. To the older ones in the room, you're not going to be doing this forever. So you need to train someone behind you. That's why regulations are important. That you want to make sure that your next generation is doing a better job than you. So you got to open your mind. Now you are brilliant men and women because you wouldn't be in business. But the life that we have has changed. And you got to be part of the change for the next generation. Just like the federation that I had the opportunity to sit, they're not doing it for the generation they're in. They're doing it for the generation that's coming. So whatever country you're starting your association, it's not about you. It's about those who are coming behind you. The association serves 100 years. I'm president, 67. That means I'm standing on 66 men and women's shoulders that were just elected. I'm standing on thousands and thousands of men and women who made the sacrifice for us to have association. Who we might have we met on people's stairs. We couldn't go in no buildings. I was amazed. Chief, I talked about you. I said, "Boy, with Chief, where he lives." I ain't talking about where he lives, but I'm talking about. I know during apartheid you would have been living there, would you? So my thing is that we are standing on those other shoulders. And I always say this to my members, and I'll say to you, I'm going to let you stand on my shoulder, and I'm going to stand erect so that you can go higher than me. I don't care. I want you to go higher than me. Does that make sense? And that's why I said we're not competitors. We're colleagues. Booker T. Washington said this. I've learned that success is to be measured not by the position one has reached in life, but by the obstacles in which he has overcome while trying to achieve. You're going to go through some obstacles. You're going to go through some pitfalls. You're going to go through some heartaches. Now this hat is a female hat. I'm giving this to one person. I'm a graduate trustee. I served on the board of trustees and trustee. I'm the youngest trustee. I was about 24 when I was on this board of trustees. I'm going to give you this as an educator. Because without Booker T. Washington, our organization would not be. We ain't that good too. Amen? And I can't remember what country Booker T. Washington came to, but he came to Africa to do some work. In Nigeria, the Sisters of the Holy Family dear to me because they raised me through school. And my principal left Boston, Massachusetts, and came and started the Sisters of the Sacred Heart. And so she's still living, but she started that work. So I'm connected to Africa as you're connected to America. As Chief will call me, as Taiwo will call me, Camille will call me from Jamaica. It might be hours behind, but I answer every phone call. Last night people were calling me and they were blown their mind that I was here and I was answering my phone. I'm answering the phone because you might need something I have. And like Taiwo said, if I don't have it, what's it, Chief? I'll call you back. Okay. I'm going to get the information. So I'm letting you know that my card is on that table, my WhatsApp is on there, my cell. All you got to do is WhatsApp me, am I right? Ezra, well, I will not respond because Ezra and I was going back and forth on certain things. And I appreciate your leadership in what you do. So if anyone wants the regulation, There's 4 parts. There's an application for, it's the overall, there's the example of application, there's an example for regulating the regulators. I will send it to you. Just email me, and I'll send it to you when I get back to the U.S. But you will get it. Am I right? I will send it to you. So I'm just saying, if you don't email me, you're not going to get it. All right? All right, let's change to the next environment with you more. Can you play that for a second? Now let me give a disclaimer to get ready to deal with embalming from American perspective. Okay? I'm not going to play it long because it's going to be overwhelming. Okay? But you're actually going to see the embalmer in the embalming room doing some basic things, and then I'm going to go turn that off and go into what's going on in the case. Is that all right? All right, disclaimer down.
Clean as you go. One of the worst things as and I had a promise as a training bomber as well as a professor of mortuary science. Now, these are some of the instruments, hemostats, S-needle, choke card. These are just some of the instruments that we would need to angle forceps, canisters, which are used to go into the artery. These are some of it. Now we're here. We're covering the face for privacy. Normally you would not have the face covered, but in this situation under privacy, we are doing that. And you might have saw a couple ligatures, and now what you see me doing actually is taking to do a mouth closure. And the mouth doesn't close naturally. You have to use some mechanism. This method I'm going to use is using an S needle with some ligature embedded on the string, going through the lower part of the jaw, and as we go through it, I'm going to actually go to the septum of the nose, come back through the nose, and you'll see that I'm going to use an aneurysm hook in a while to make sure that we don't have a little slipping of the needle itself. So you're going to see me take the S needle, and I'm going to actually go through the first nostril, and my arm is blocking that, but in the next case you'll see very clearly. As you see me pulling and then pulling around the jaw, but then you'll see me go through, I went through the septum, now I'm going right back to the other side of the nostril and coming through. Now, every embalmer is different. Show me 100 embalmers, I'll show you 100 different ways. Now I'm going to use a bow tie. Do you see how I pulled up to make sure that the lip now, I just slide a little bit of cotton under there just to give, no I'm not, I stand corrected. I'm actually using a mouth former. In this situation, this gentleman does not have upper teeth, so we're using a mouth former here to form the mouth under the ligature to hold the jaw together. So in this situation, once the fluid starts flowing, when we start doing the procedure for, some would say the operation or some would say embalming, you saw me pulling a little bit to get a little tightness. I'm going to put a bow in so as we go forth, I can loosen up as the fluid is going through. So I'm taking my aneurysm hook and my forceps and making sure that I'm tucking inside the mouth of this gentleman. Now, I'm from the old school. I talk to people. As you go to school, it tells you to give respect because they would demand that they were alive. So there's occasionally you might hear me call the person by their first name or last name, and mostly it's the last name saying Mr. Smith or Mrs. Smith, just to give them that respect, say help me out when I'm having some difficulty in the injection. Now, embalming is an art form, and basically, I don't care how long you've been in this funeral business, you're not the master, you're mastering. It's the art of embalming. Now, there's many different eye closures. You're seeing me a little bit do the eye closure. I'm doing an overlap, so I like the lower part of the eyelid going under and then the over eyes. Now, most time when we went to mortuary school, they call it almond eyes. That's when the lower and the upper eyelid meet, and it gives off like an almond. And this gentleman's giving me a little challenge here, but eventually I will get it. So you'll see in the mouth, and you saw the eyes, and then I'm going to cover him back up for the privacy for this family. Now, I'm ready to really start to embalm myself, and as you see, the water is running with the tube. Just always want to make sure you have the water running, especially when we're getting ready to make the initial incisions. Now, as a former professor, normally we're told just an inch and a half. But I know when you're starting, the incision might be a little longer. As a former state board and a person who actually gave the exams, I would look and measure almost if someone did. But I'm using the scalpel here, and basically we're going to try to be cautious and not to cut the jugular. I'm going to raise the carotid artery, and as we go through it, we've always been taught the carotid artery is where you make the incision to go into replace the blood. The embalming fluid is replacing the blood and then it's drained out the jugular vein. But I'm getting a little ahead of myself in some aspect. Um, this particular, my hands are in the way. And now I'm using the back of the aneurysm hook going the same direction of I always say a bundle. It's where I had to making an extra incision because I'm trying to open it up, and I think my hands has blocked it. So we're going to do what we call a half moon, and the half moon is going to open up so we can get more visual. But when you're actually starting to raise the jugular and the carotid, the bundle is wrapped around ligaments and has tendons, and I'm going to use the scalpel to clean, but you got to be careful when using the scalpel. You see me cutting away some of the muscle here. That way, the muscles is in a protection mode of the body. The body is unique. God, when He created this body, made so many ways that you are protecting the most central parts of this human machine. So as you look here, that I really focus just as to raise. If you look, use the trachea, right to the right of the trachea, will be the bundle of material. And as you see, I'm trying to dig with the back of the aneurysm, so I won't really put a hole in the jugular. If I put a hole in the jugular, there's a saying that might as well turn the lights out. You see the first vein, first vessel that looks dark, that is actually the jugular itself. And it also has the carotid on my far left. So we're using the back of the aneurysm hook. I'm going to get another aneurysm hook just to really clean off. I like the smaller one, so you might see me use the bigger one for the cleaning off. So I just taking off the first little thin layer that was like almost peeling, and I'm cleaning off the vessel, separating it from some more tendons, and that right there to the far left is actually the carotid artery. It looks just like a noodle when you clean it off. And like I said, to the right is the jugular vein. You want to make sure you see how I pull back the fascia, and look how it looks just like a piece of noodle. So that is the actual artery, very key. Now I'm using my fingers. Old time embalmer, taught by old time embalmers. So we do everything in embalming by feel. As you'll get started, you'll learn to do this. Make sure you have a nice, great set of gloves. And all I'm doing is putting a ligature bed on the string on both ends, because I'm going to use the canisters to go through, which is use a device to embalm. Okay? Then I'm going to ligature off or rope off. I'm using terminologies for exams, but rope off the actual vein, and because we're going to drain through the vein, and you see how I'm cleaning that off as well. Now it's very thin. You got to be very cautious, and I've been doing this for a little bit, so I got a little feel for it. But please believe me, I sometimes actually pop some of the vessels by being tugging too much. So I'm just cleaning off, so when we actually start embalming, you should get some great drainage through it. Okay? Now you see I'm putting the ligature there, and now we have tied off the vein, and we tied off the artery. And as mentioned earlier, the artery has two strings, one we're going towards the head, and the other one we're going towards the main body of the torso. And this is called a straight case. And we'll have another case coming up that will be a post, but this is a straight case, simple injection. And I'm using a scalpel, watching my fingers, and just making a decision in the direction of the vessel if I can slide the canister. Now, old time embalmers, we use scissors. And you might see me in another segment using scissors, but right now I'm going to go ahead and we made the incision. You can see the line right there, and I'm going to slide the canister in, pulling back the vessel to slide right into the loom. And it should go in sometimes you put a little water, some people put a little liquid soap on it, and it slides right in. And I do both sides, so one's going up and one's going down. I'm going to tie off both canisters to make sure they don't slip. And that's talking about the vessel itself. And then I'm also going to use a hemostat that will go around it. The hemostat's just a clamp. And you see right now I'm using a clamp. And that clamp has two holes in it, one for a large and canister and one for small. So I use that. That's some of the best instruments I have to help me. Now I'm that little triangle. I decided to go around the opposite way, as you see, because if I went the way I originally started, I would have been locking the jugular vein when we need to drain from there. So I'm going to also go to the other side the same way that I started here. I'm going to switch up and go to the opposite side and clamp off. So that way I've clamped off the instrument. As you see, as I'm stretching the clamp, part of the clamp looks like it's connected to the jugular vein. So I'm just releasing a little bit, and I'm going to tug around a little bit more and release it. I'm using my finger to separate so that the jugular itself is clear, it's not obstructed by any of the other instruments I'm using. Because that's going to be very vital when we start injecting. Now you see this rubber tube? This rubber tube is used to clamp off the tube that's going towards the head. And we use that only for back pressure. Now, I'm raising the gentleman's head, I'm putting his head what's called the head block to make sure that the head is not resting on the table. And once again, being very cautious of privacy for this gentleman. Now, what you're going to see, I'm working the rigor out of his hands and his arms. A lot of colleagues do it in legs. And then once you work the rigor, because you know the first 12 hours, the body stiffens, and then the next 12 hours the body relaxes. But in this situation, we worked out the rigor on both sides and extended the hands while I put the tube in from the embodiment machine. Then we're going to actually take the ligature or piece of string, which I'm using wax, which is heavier than the white cotton, and tie it around the holes in the canister just to make sure it doesn't move when the pressure. I'm going to move back the privacy covering to touch to see the mouth and the nose. So once you start embalming, the water is very important, not just to cleaning the body, and is using the water for the glutathione in the embalming fluid, and the formaldehyde will come up towards the water. Water loves that gas in it. Now, what I'm showing with the hands, he's really getting it, and then you'll see one of the veins right by that first tube is extended, which lets us know that he is getting that distribution. I'm also noticing in the leg, and you might be able to see just this right on the lower part extended by that hole. You see the extension. That lets me know he's getting modeling, which is almost like a mushroom look. Now I'm moving over the canister to the other side because I want to make sure that that jugular is not blocked. I'm noticing in this case he's getting this small distribution coming, getting ready to make an incision, but the back fluid in that rubber tube, I'm pulling it back a little bit, and you have to pull those tubes back yourselves. He is getting fluid in that tube. I'm going to eventually clamp it off with a hemostat to make sure I get some back pressure. Now what I'm going to do is take the angles forceps. You see me extending the jugular vein. And I'm using the scissors. Some people use a scalpel. And I'm just going to slide the angle forceps right in that incision. And that actually is the jugular vein. I mean, and it expands. Using the angle forceps, there's a lot of clotting in this gentleman. He had heart in the arteries, or has heart in the arteries. Okay, so now you get the idea with that.
I think that was to give you an idea. Let me first say, this was done prior to COVID. Tell me what way I was dressed. Was I properly dressed for protection of PPE?
No.
This tape was done prior to COVID. So it kind of leads me into a couple of things. Oh, yeah. I have an assistant today. So what I do now, I am totally wrapped, gowned up. And this particular one has feet, and I'm in it. Hood, get into that particular item, I'm gonna have the gloves, and I tape my gloves around my wrists. What Taiwo was showing you, she also has some foot coverings. So even though this has foot coverings, I'm gonna put on some shoes, and I have some bomber shoes I like, and then I'm gonna put foot coverings over those shoes. Okay? Did you see the mask that I had on? That's what most of you guys use, right, for masks, right? Well, that mask is not really protecting the embalmer. While I was embalming with that embalming fluid, I was taking in the smells of the embalming fluid, or whatever fluid you use, which causes me cancer. This is 3M, and 3M is in most of the countries. This particular filter will stop the smell of the fibers of the fluid. So you can wear this on there, walk in there, and that's the best investment you can make for yourself. So your embalmer needs to have a proper vengeance. For those who are real embalmers know what I'm talking about. Then you put Taiwo wears glasses, I wear glasses. Keep your glasses on and put the shield on. Since I already have the hood, I don't need to have something else on my head. What else up there? All right, that's when I get to talk about the transportation. Do you know why the United States had more deaths in COVID than any country in the world? Because the World Health Organization was instructed to do direct burials or cremations for COVID-19 cases. The CDC, which is the United States Disease Control Disease, was telling funeral directors, oh, don't worry about direct burials or cremation. All you have to do is do universal precaution, which everyone knows we all should be doing, and you can do a funeral. What they didn't tell anyone, that COVID-19 was not on the death certificate. That's why in the United States we lost 383 funeral directors from NFDA, NFDMA, talking about the black funeral directors, because it wasn't on the death certificate. So when you see them talking about the United States, which is supposed to be one of the greatest countries in the world, it didn't show it when COVID-19 came. And there was a biggest argument that we wrote to the President of the United States who was in office. He made CDC political. We were taught as funeral directors, follow the CDC. Whatever the healthcare system says, do. And that's why we had all these Americans dying, because it became political. Even to this day, the CDC does not want the physicians to put COVID-19 on the death certificate. It doesn't make sense. So we're having another argument. Thank God we got this president listening. There's 6 of our members who have White House clearance, and I'm happy to be one of them. That the White House has had us on many discussions about COVID-19. You see our colleague walking around, and here you can put on a pair of gloves. Yeah, let them see you, and put the whole uniform on. And that's every time you go into the embalmer room, that's how you should be dressed. Because you're not only protecting yourself and your staff, you're protecting your own family. When COVID-19 came, my staff was instructed, those who went to pick up the bodies, we have an outer door before you get into the embalmer. You're to leave the body in the freezer and go home. When you go home, whatever you're wearing, disinfect it outside your door, leave it out your door, come back, put it in a bag, and wash it. And it was crazy. I used to do all the embalming, still do, but during that time, all the embalming. I had a back door. I would come and embalm. I would leave. If I found that you had picked up a body, or you've been in the embalm room, and you walked upstairs into my public area, you were fired. Because you were tracking COVID-19 in a public building that I only could have 10 people on a funeral. And you know, in our community, 10 people is not excitement for them, but 10 people was 10. Yeah, they count. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 10. So let me give you the shield too. Let me be my class and you do it when you do it. Okay? Put the shield on. Because you have no glasses on. Now he just made a good point. He said, no, I already got the mask on, I don't need, but his eyes weren't protected. So you either have to wear glasses or get goggles or wear the mask. These masks cost more money now because everybody's wearing masks. Wearing these. Used to cost us about about $20. So this is the proper way. Walk through. Can you walk through? Huh? Yes, ma'am. So we wanted to see, but if y'all can't see the back, wave your hand, you'll walk back. Okay? So that's the proper way that now the only thing that's missing is the apron.
The apron and the boots.
Yeah. So just use it. Now when I'm doing this, I am taping this up, apron. Okay? This is how every time you go in that bomb room, it might be expensive, but let me tell you how you can save some money. Thank you. In the United States, we couldn't find PPEs. Okay? You can keep that mask if you want. We couldn't find any PPEs. So I had to go to Home Depot. I went to Lowe's. I had to go to the dollar store. I mean, across the country, we couldn't find anything to protect the people. And these are pouches. The rain pouches that women mostly wear. I had to go to the dollar store and buy pouches because they had a hood and it was plastic. And I had to tape myself so I could go and embalm cases because there was no PPEs. So some of the things that you might see in the publications, I got about 20, 25 books. You can definitely have them. They're for you. There's different subject matters on the public funeral business from the United States, different publications. And you'll see how this gentleman was dressed. You can get that from, we call sun dry. You might as well get it from a embalming store. You can get those items, right? But maybe you don't have all that type of money. Go into your local hardware store. And you should be able to find something to protect you. The next thing that is a big issue, I'm not used to having a system, is what should be in your vehicle when you pick up a body. It's called a universal precaution kit. And in that kit should be tags, gloves, apron, shoe covers, masks. When you go in to pick a body up from the house or from the hospital or from the nursing home. Does that make sense? Because guess what? When you become regulated and the government sees they can make money off of regulating us, and they see this particular kit is part of in another country that regulates, they're going to make a requirement that each vehicle has universal precaution kits. And that your drivers have to take OSHA course. OSHA is learning how to train to deal with a dead remain prior to even if you don't embalm or not. What is the precaution? Even to the point teaching you how to lift the body up. You don't lift the body with your back, you lift it with your legs. That's why I say to those ladies, Don't act like no female. You can keep that kid if you want it, Doc. You can keep it if you want it.
Prof,
Yeah.
ask something.
Yes, ma'am.
I think the best thing to do when you are picking up a body from one hospital or the home is to actually put a tag on that deceased from their home and get somebody from that home or hospital to sign the tag. I, Taiwo, identify so as being so. So no mistake. Thank you.
Excellent. In our state, it's just similar. You have to have a tag on a lung balloon. The name, social security number, date of birth, date of death, and the name of the funeral home. Just to make sure. And if you know where you're going to either bury or bury, cremate, entomb, you need to have that facility on it. So if the state comes in to view your operation, everybody, B-O-D-Y, should be identified who the person is and where are they going. And if you're in a large facility, you better get used to what Taiwo's saying. Right there, the worst thing is to take a body and then you turn around and it's the wrong body. I don't know if you read a lot of it in the publication. Funeral homes burying the wrong body. Funeral homes cremating the wrong body. That's because no one identified and put the name of the person on the body. Or someone's in the wrong casket. Or someone has the wrong clothes on. And then funeral directors in America try to make people think, oh, they changed because of embalming. No, that's not my mother. And then you find out later that they buried, they got to bring the body back up, resume it and all that. Now, you understand why I cut off that film, right? Because some of you don't even go into that depth. And in South Africa, I saw the full film. I never forget when we showed that film. People said, oh! They were going, oh, but they kept looking. But when you start doing a post, that means the autopsy was done. I used to work for Johns Hopkins Hospital doing autopsies. Then I would teach medical students how to do the autopsy. So I know how to take the brain out, take the tongue block out, I do all that stuff. You know, it made me a better embalmer because I actually knew where the certain organs are and how they function. So if you take the gravity embalming sheet that I gave out, I want to go to page I think it's page 87. It has the gravity example that those who might do gravity. Does that look like how you guys are the ones who do gravity? In 87. Okay. There was a history book called The History of Embalming, and they used to have about 3 chapters on gravity. And now with the new book, they have 5 pages. So I was explaining to some people that I still do gravity if my electricity goes out. Now, the reason why I do the gravity, I explain to my students, for those who have, does anyone have a embalming machine called a porta boy? You have a porta boy? Okay. A porta boy is Deutetronic and porta boy. Deutetronics, you're going to spend a lot of electricity. But a porta boy, you know, you can just turn it on and go home and that body will embalm. It's like gravity. Did you know that? Yeah. A porta boy will do self-embalming. All you gotta do is put whatever artery you're using and turn the machine on without electricity. You don't have to turn electricity on. Just turn it on and that body will self-embalm. It with a porta boy. Yes, sir. Awesome. Yeah. So here's the thing that I learned, and I'm gonna ask you some questions. The videos that I saw on YouTube dealing with Kenya talking about gravity, I saw that one person was doing it in the hospital, and she was using 20% formula. She kept saying, "Oh, we were taught in school to use 20% formula." And I said, "Okay, 20% formula based on what index?" And the reason I use the word index is it lets me know what the strength of the fluid is. But if you're getting formula out of raw formula, that's 100% formula. That's why some of the problems you're having with your body. So they're using the gravity. In the United States and in Europe, they actually use 3 gallons. But that's a mixture with the fluid and water. Okay? So these bottles I have, and even though Taiwu said that, she likes Dodge. Dodge is a good company. I use Plaza Play, medicine, permanent medicine. So it's different type of chemicals. But the reason I wanted to bring these 2 companies, one is called Arlington. Chief, you were at Arlington when we did the tour of Arlington. And then the other one's called Bondo. Bondo is in Arkansas. Well, Bondo was a black company, and Arlington's a black company. Well, Arlington, the 2 brothers in Arlington brought Bondos. So they produce those products at the same location. So those who come into Washington in 24 will make another tour. And they will take you into where they mix it. But you're going to wear a mask like a gentleman had. And plus they now have a crematory. So it's really good to see that they're maximized. But one reason I brought these bottles to Taiwan is because they put on here how many ounces per half a gallon. So this right here is arterial fluid. The index is 24. I have another one, I think it's 18. So it says that 3 ounces to 5 ounces per half a gallon of water. So if I'm doing 3 gallons, that basically is telling me 10 ounces. If I want to do extreme, 10 ounces, that'd be 30 ounces, right? So this is 36. So I won't even use the whole bottle. I'll go to where my thumb is. I'm gonna pass these bottles around and read you separate. So the fluid that you're using and the fluid that we're using less and is longer ferment than using the concentration that you guys are using. If you're gonna use that concentration, I would use 10% and use 2 on page 87 and fill the water up twice. So take 5% of it, put it in and have water in it, then another 5% have water. Now here's the catch. You could drain through the fat. You saw me draining through the carotids is the best, but I understand you don't want people to see it. That means you sew it up well and you glue it, cover it, they're not gonna see it. Because that's why you're the funeral director. You're gonna dress the person, you're gonna camouflage it, they don't need to see that. But if you'll do the carotid, which is right next to the heart, you will be draining the body. And that's the purpose of why schooling is so important. That's why when I come and I talk to the professor, come and see what they're teaching in that 3 months. Because you've got to understand, and I'm not disrespecting to those schools, because they're doing the best they can. But the same body that's at a medical school, that body has been drained of its blood as best as you can to preserve that body and blow that body. We don't even use formaldehyde in doing a body. We do glutaldehyde when we're doing those bodies in a state of medicine. That means the body's going to be blown up 2 or 3 sides to the side, and it's going to be so preserved that when you make a decision, you can see the layer of how the fluid is being done. Now, why am I sharing that? What's that for? The importance is whatever way you're doing, if you're doing it in South Africa, they're not embalming, they're doing refrigeration, and the body looks good, you just want to make sure the smell is not good. Now, refrigeration will slow down decomposition, but it will not stop. If you're in Kenya and you're doing the gravity, there's some things that you can do, even if you're using a formula in which you're putting the body in, and say you're draining it. I wish we were in an area that could clean your feet home, because I know we're in an area that doesn't really do embalming like that. So say if you're embalming in the room that you're going to have a family come and view. The first thing I'm going to ask you, do you have ventilation in that room? So if you don't have ventilation, it's good to have the fan, but the fan is, these fans are not working. They're working to cool you down, but it's recycling smell. Go and buy you an actual floor fan or a fan that can go into the window or put it at the door and reverse the fan. That means the fan is not blowing to you. The fan's gonna blow outside, but it's gonna suck out your smell. And do that even up to the time that you know your families are coming in. Because if you're using that fluid as strong as it is, you are gonna smell it. And then the other aspect is, if that body is smelling, this is called the thoracic and the abdominal area. So the fluid's in here. You still have blood with that fluid. You get a chemical reaction. And that chemical reaction, the fluid is not going to really work. What's going to work is the gases in that body. Now, some of y'all remember I was Chief. I used to be small like Chief, but I got a few up. So that means I got a lot of gas here. And you put that fluid in here with that blood and these organs, you're going to have a serious gas issue. And if that body stays around long enough with the heat and not in refrigeration, you have an issue that the first thing they're going to say, oh my God, Mama, smell it. Daddy, smell it. And they are smelling. In other words, they decompose. So how can we get away with that? It's a little messy, we don't recommend to you, but it will work. If you don't have the choke part that you saw on page, two pages, I'm just going to show you how. The last page was page 80, page 99. It has three different forms of choke off. Now, you don't have that instrument. There's an issue some of you know called cavity. Cavity is stronger than arterial fluid. But cavity should be placed only in the abdominal and thoracic area. It neutralizes the embalming fluid, but it also will make the interior hard to take away your smell. It's really made out of methanol. Made out of methanol. And methanol will make the smell of embalming fluid decrease, just like ammonia. You know, you guys are using the funeral home and you're in the same room and you got the smell on the floor. Get you some pneumonia, not bleach, pneumonia. And pneumonia will take the smell of embalming fluid out. Then you come back and wash it with soap and bleach. Bleach will not kill embalming fluid, but pneumonia will neutralize. You just gotta watch, making sure when you use the bleach and the soap, that will give off a gas. You wanna watch it. That would be a good time to have that fan in it, but it will disinfect. If you don't have an aspirator, or better known, is a device that most people don't have. Well, I didn't take it. I had to take this so I was putting it on one. If you have an embalmer room, this is called a hydro aspirator. Legally, there's a hole right here. It goes right to your sink. You screw it on. You turn both hot and cold on. If this item is sitting like this, the water's going to come rushing out of you. But if you move it down, it becomes a suction. So you would take your choke part with a rubber gasket, and you will hook it to here. And you will suck all the fluid out, burst all the organs, and take all that waste out. And it's going to go in the water system. Now, you're going to have some politicians that are going to argue, oh, it's going in the water system. Well, they had that argument in the United States. 0.0000001 does not affect your water system. Human waste is more than within that stomach. You know what I'm talking about? So, this is a device that's not cheap. This device, if you have a sink and you can aspirate that body, that's going to save you a lot of headaches. If you don't have that device, get you a scalpel. Be a little messy. Make an incision here, below the stomach, and right here, below the stomach. Take a scalpel and actually poke the organs. Guess what's going to happen? You're going to have some fluid coming out. Okay? It'll be a little messy unless you have something to drain on a drain table. That's going to take all of that smell from that body. The body's preserved. Then you have to sew it back up. Let it sit for a day if you can. If not, a couple hours, sew it back up. Now I got the pores here. Pneumonia, I'm back leaching. Now I'm putting this person, he's still smelling. What do I do to kill the smell? Go to that first page. First page, below where it says suggestions to control the smell of the body. These are items in your local grocery store. The number one that I do like, how many people drink coffee? You want to drink coffee? Do you use the beans and shred it your own self, or you already get it ground? Get the whole beans first. Put the whole beans in the casket. What is the smell going to smell like? Coffee. Now some of y'all might say that's crazy. I'd rather smell like coffee than smell like a decomposed body. That makes sense? How many ladies, most men ain't gonna go to the grocery store with it. How many ladies use those laundry pellets that you put into your wash? You know, they got new ones that you put your soap powder, and then they got these little pellets to give off a nice smell, fabric smell. That's the best thing you want to put on the body. Because it's already smelling like fabric. Circle it into the casket, or to the coffin. As you're dressing the person, sprinkle some inside their clothes. Once they're laid out to perfection, put some under the pillow, under the shoulder, under the buttons. Probably cost you $3 for one of the big ones, maybe $5, depending on how big it is. And guess what they're gonna smell like? They're gonna smell like that fabric. So what did you just do? You camouflage the smell. At the same time, you just did with one thing people forget in the funeral. How many senses we have? 6? We can feel, we can smell, we can taste, we can see, right? So when I'm smelling that person dressed, she looks nice, I can feel them, they feel like themselves, and I'm smelling sweetness in a bad situation. So use the senses that we have. And then another thing you need to have is a control person, a quality control person. That's what I mentioned to you earlier. I'm a quality control person. I don't care hell where I am in this country, in the world. You better send me the picture how they looked before you started. I want a picture after you finish. You better not leave the funeral till I say okay. When you dress them and lay them out, I want you to send me a picture. I'm going to tell you what corrections you need to do. Now, why do I do that? Because my name is on it. And if there's a problem in the state of Maryland at my funeral, who are they coming for? They come for me. Because it's my name, my license. And I'll tell you, I'll share a story with you. I was president of state board for 9 years. 5 years leaving, but 9 years. Longest serving president of the state of Maryland. One of my staff members, I told him we do not want that family. Because that family was a problem. All money is not good money, ladies and gentlemen. Let me say that again. All money is not good money. I will turn away a family even if I need the money, but I don't need the headache that comes with that money. So I told him, I said, we're not going to serve this family. This funeral director decided that we are going to serve this family, and I was out of town. I get a call from the family. It was something about cremation. Well, the person had the right to do it. She did, but she didn't. Anyway, I had to get involved on Sunday morning before I went to church. I was not happy. I had to go before the state board. It cost me $15,000 for an attorney. And since I was president of the state board, they pulled every case that I signed off in the 9 years I sat in this state. So you know they're gonna find me because there only been 6 of us looking like me and you. So I was on probation for a whole year. Do you think that employee's still working for me? He fired himself. You know how to do it? I couldn't fire him, so I reduced the schedule. So I gotta reduce your schedule. So I reduced the schedule. Oh, I also gotta change some of the responsibilities you do. So that way I could fire him by him leaving. So I wouldn't just sue. Even though he was wrong. See how I just told you something how you do it? Don't fire him. Reduce this schedule. Reduce the responsibility. And they'll leave on their own. But if you're not in a city that you can't fire and not to sue, like in the state of Georgia, it's what we call the right of refusal. You can fire anybody without a cause. My state, you gotta have a cause. So I made a cause for my refusal. So why am I sharing? Here's a couple other things that you want to look. Look at this list. I know it seems crazy, but try it. It will work. Now here's the catch. You are the funeral director. You are the funeral director. That means when you know you got a case that's really bad, don't let that family keep it for you. You must direct them how to do the funeral. That's why they called you. Let me say that again. You are the funeral director. What are you directing? Not just the funeral, but you're directing that family to get them through it. That makes sense? All right, so this basically, I want to thank you all. Ezra, I'm going to leave everything. Everything on this table, please take. Because I am not taking it back. But I want to thank you for the opportunity and the privilege for letting me share this information.
Give him a standing ovation. That was heavy. Now we have come to the end of our presentations, and at this juncture I would like to ask our chairman, our president, Ezra, to come and take over here and give us directions. Shall we clap for him?
Thank you very much, our MC, for a very wonderful job you have done, because in most occasions we normally don't recognize them, but they need to be appreciated for the good work they are doing, because they are the ones who are controlling the event. Thank you very much. Another round of applause to Dr. Harry P. Close for a wonderful presentation about embalming, the etiquettes, and I think now people have understood, and also those watching us via YouTube channel, you have seen what is expected when you are handling a human remain. You must give it the highest dignity that it deserves. Most of the mortuaries that we enter, they don't offer that dignity. They don't cover the face You just see everything. But what you have done here, this is a wonderful presentation, and arguably I can say the education that you have come out here, it's more than a one-year course. Thank you very much, and we really appreciate. Secondly, what we normally do as an association, we are not rigid, we are not greedy. What we normally do, we always take the magazines, the equipment, and anything that is donated to the association, we put it in our library, so that even if we don't use it, then the coming generation, when they come and find our office, they'll have a place to refer. And we really appreciate for what you have done for this kind of donation. Kindly give a round of applause. And I think now the office of Fusak, since it was established in 1995, we have more than enough materials when it comes to books, the magazines, the equipment, the choker gun, the origin, embalming machines. We have everything. And now this is another added equipment, because the next conference that we're going to do next year, we shall now be displaying all the equipment so that people can actually see what is expected of them and what kind of tools and equipment that they need to use in their facility. And we really appreciate also this government representation here, and they have taken notes, and actually they also guide on what is expected now to regulate the industry. Thank you very much, Dr. Hari, once again. We don't know how we can appreciate you, but from deep of our heart, we are really humbled for your good presentation. And also, Madam Taiwo, for your good presentation. And we shall really want you to come back again to the country, Kenya, so that you take us through the journey of embalming. That's where we have a lot of challenges when it comes to issue of handling human remains. As I speak, we have come to the end of our 9th annual funeral conference. We are still waiting for Mr. Simon Boikanyo. At least he will guide us on the way forward. But as we also wait, because don't be worried or surprised to say, why do we have now fewer people? So many people have rescheduled their flights. Some want to leave in the next 1 hour so that they catch their flights back home. Also, Dr. Hari is supposed to be leaving here. He may miss the lunch or have the lunch, but if you have that in an African way, even if you take a small biting, we appreciate that you have tasted the last food in African soil. Because this is your first time, not the first time at coming here to Kenya. Now, let me go straight to the issuance of certificates. It's my humble appeal to call upon Dr. Chomi Makina to be up and standing and come here on stage. Dr. Hari, you have just given us a presentation, but we don't want you to get tired. The work has just begun for you, so that as you issue the certificate with Dr. Makina, whom both of you are guest speakers, so that each and every delegate that gets the certificate, when they see the signing, they know that they were given by the two people standing behind them. Because what we normally do here in Kenya, in each and every conference that people attend, we give them certificates. The reason being when you go back to your country, it adds value to your organization. It adds value wherever you are, because when you have the certificate, and most of these certificates that we have been giving here has really transformed some people's life here in our country. Some have got employment, some have extended and gone to other sectors to do wonderful things. So these certificates, we don't take them for granted. So that when you go back home, you'll say, actually when I was in Kenya, this is what I received. I'd like to ask now, may I call our Secretary General, Mr. Agustinus, to come up, and our beautiful ladies, office from Fusak, they should just be standby. First, we want to issue the certificate of recognition. This is a recognition certificate being issued to Dr. Harry P. Close, to his funeral home, which is known as Harry P. Close Funeral Services, PA. This is to recognize Harry P. Close Funeral Services for the promotion, growth, development, and valuable contribution towards the funeral industry. Don't you think he did? He deserves this. Given to the secretary. This is given by the secretary and the chairman of Funeral Services Association. We issue it to him. Thank you very much. You see, we have put our barcode, we have put security features. You just scan and you find what is inside there, you go direct to the website. Also, still, that is a certificate of recognition. You can just scan the certificate and you just go take you to the website. We still want to appreciate him. We have recognized his institution. Now we have to appreciate him for the valuable contribution towards the funeral profession now. Not the funeral industry. Now it's the funeral profession. We have to appreciate for the valuable contribution towards the funeral profession. Now still, we are going to next to appreciate our powerful presenter. He has done a lot in Zimbabwe. He has also done a lot to us here in Kenya. When I always see him, and I keep on, even though he doesn't want me to always keep on mentioning that, but my first air ticket was bought by him. The return flight, and that was my first time to board a flight through him. And I was really excited to be airborne. But I was told, once you have boarded the first flight, your life will be never be the same again. And indeed, it has never been the same again. Thank you very much, Makina, for showing me the world and extending me to know so many people. And this is how I came to meet Dr. Harry in Zimbabwe. Thank you very much for that. Thank you. Now, thank you very much. Now still, as we do some certificate of recognition, because once I finish with Fusak, I will hand over this stage to the African Federation to guide us. We are just doing the Kenyan organization, how we normally do it. We want to recognize those funeral Limited. They can come and take a certificate of recognition. Well done, Madam Taiwo. You have really done a good job and you are doing great work in Nigeria. You have been to a lot of charity foundation. You can come all and we take a group photo. These certificates, I know they'll be mounted somewhere in the world, in Nigeria, in US. And we really round of applause again for the people of Nigeria coming all the way from Nigeria as a team just to be with us here, to spend some time with us. Thank you very much, Madam Taiwo and Toes Funeral Services for the good work you are doing in Nigeria. Another group that you want to call here and you want to recognize them for the certificate of recognition, it's Naratso Funeral Services from Zimbabwe. It's one of the group that I'll be telling you that when I land to Mugabe Airport, you see they have a terminal yard there. If you go to the capital city of Harare, they have I think a 4-story building just for funeral, which you can never see here in Kenya. Thank you very much for the good work they are trying to do. They have extended their borders, and also remember Naratso Funeral Services, they have a branch in UK also. Thank you for the good work you are doing. They have really conquered Zimbabwe. Yeah. And we also want you to come here in Kenya, towards other funeral services. Please come. There's a lot of opportunities that exist here in this country that has never been explored. We really highly welcome you because you may transform the industry here in Kenya. Not only in Kenya, we have a population of 100 million people, 300 million people across the Eastern African region. If you enter Kenya, you'll be entering the Eastern African region with a 300 million population. You can imagine what you can do. We also want to recognize an institution, a funeral home. They have done great, not only in South Africa, but they have really supported us here in Kenya. We want to recognize Boikanyo's Funeral Home. Thank you, Chief. We really appreciate the good work you are doing to us. Take nice photos because you want to put it also in our library. Also in South Africa, we have an institution. It's known as A34 Funeral Services. For the good work they are doing across the Southern Africa, they're just bordering Lesotho. Thank you very much, A34 Funeral Services, for the good work they are doing. All the way from Lesotho, St. Tabanica Funeral Services. Come upstanding also for the good work you are doing. We have to recognize your institution. Oh, nice matching. Thank you very much. We like that. 20, is it, which year? 20 years of adversity. Can you give me a round of applause? Thank you very much. This was to recognize also. Thank you. Take who's nice photo. You can take photo again. Just take your time. Take your time. okay. Thank you very much. Oh, you didn't take a photo. Okay, give you the next photo. Because this will be in our memories. The problem is that the chairman is not in the photo, but you know how you can Photoshop. Thank you very much. Now, another recognition goes to all the way from Cameroon. Hotel Assistance International. This you are giving to Cameroon, Tondo, Richard, Mario. We really appreciate from the Western region to come all the way. When you are last communicating, you are in France. We are just communicating in France. You say when you come back to Cameroon, you'll see what to do. But I strongly believed in you, and you are here. Thank you, Tondo, Richard, and for the good recognition. Thank you very much. We also want to recognize one of the funeral homes in Malawi. In Malawi, there is a company known as Old Mutual that opened a funeral parlor in Malawi along Blantyre. And as you can see, they are extending and they'll be going places. And this is none other than Mutunzi Funeral Services Limited. The boss of Mutunzi Funeral Services and the boss of Old Mutual of Malawi are here. Thank you very much. They are becoming very vibrant in Malawi, and I know they want to move. The speed they are moving at an alarming rate. Also, in South Africa, we are going to recognize one of the funeral homes. It's doing wonders in their region, in the province. It's called Mojalefa Fulo Funeral Home. You can always Google these funeral homes and see the kind of work they are trying to do in their respective countries. The same northwestern region, northwest province, still in South Africa. We have a funeral home that is run down there by our mama, Tebelo, Maureen. It's called Poloko Funeral Services. I know you can wonder how did I get all these names, but I was not even given. We do a lot of research and we go deep. Now we have finished with the certificate of recognition for all our respective delegates, countries, and their respective funeral services outside Kenya. Now we want to recognize one of an health center that is based here in Kenya. It's good they came, and it's called Helmi Jonas Health Center, Uradi in Siaya County. I call upon Sister Leticia. Can you come? It's her first time attending this conference. and she's the administrator at health center, but he said he wants to understand more about this industry because in the health center they also have a mortuary, but she really wanted to understand what is going on, but I know she has acquired more knowledge and skills so that when she goes back, she will look that center of mortuary in a different way. Thank you, Sister Vizicia. Now, we also want to recognize one of our sub-county hospital in Naivasha. It's known as Naivasha Sub-County Hospital. And the head of that mortuary in Naivasha County Hospital is called Stanley Wanaina. Kindly come. Stanley Wanaina, you are doing a great job in the Nakuru County and is in Naivasha Sub-County Hospital. It's really transforming the facility there, and it's our humble wish that if the Nakuru County Governor could listen, he should promote him to the greater heights to be the head in the entire Nakuru County. Now, when people come to conference, some just come because they have been given some allowance so that just to attend the conference, so that when they go back home, they have something in their pocket. Some come to the conference to learn, some come to network, some come to do business, and there are some come just to learn the baby steps of what they can do. We have two ladies here who have really watched what has been happening since 2012 on these conferences. But there's one madam who really challenged them, Mamito from Botswana, and Dr. Makina, and told them, I don't want to see you to always be employees or you are just sitting at the reception, just receiving guests and doing registration. You can also start your own initiative and we can be supporting you. These ladies organized and registered Fields Funeral Services Limited, and they try to go, and we really like people to hold their hands, those in the funeral sector, so that to take them to the greater heights. Can they come for their certificates and their great stuff? Can you kindly clap for them? Congratulations, they are not only sitting there, but they are trying to do something in the funeral industry. So when you see they are trying to talk to each and every person, they are trying just to network and see if they can open branch and partner with them. So don't be surprised next time when you see they are sitting on the high table and they say that they were given favor. It's not a favor, but they are just trying their luck. Thank you very much. There is also one funeral home here in Kenya. It's an independent funeral home. It has been trying to be supportive also for this Funeral Services Association of Kenya, and it's called Bukowe Funeral Home. Bukowe Funeral Home. We have to recognize you for the promotion you are doing towards this industry. A good thing with Bukowe, if the owner doesn't come, he normally sends one of his employees to attend the conference, which is a rare case. Also, we cannot forget to recognize one of an institution that is in to the prepaid funeral plan, and they're trying to help masses here in Kenya of how they can cut costs when it comes to issue of burial. This is none other than Cooper, Kenya. You can come for the recognition. In Zimbabwe, they do funeral assurance. But here in Kenya, it's like a burial society. They have been helping many masses towards helping them achieve their cut down costs on the funeral expenses. We also like to recognize Kirinini Cottage Hospital. After this, you'll allow me to be moving very fast now with the issues of certificate. When you just call upon you, you will come because we have a little time spare. Next, we are calling Kenyatta University Teaching Referral and Research Hospital. This is one of the biggest institutions in Kenya. It's owned by the national government. They have a funeral home, and you can see it's being headed by a lady, Madam Joyce. She is the head of the Memorial Funeral Home, and I know she's going to impart knowledge and skills back at home. Thank you. We want to recognize now we want to appreciate our Madam Teacher, Madam Laura Olive, for a good presentation about human composition. Now, I think the letters are going off. Now, as Kenya, what we normally do, we always have a token of appreciation for the good work we are trying to do not only here in Kenya and the entire world. We have a token for Dr. Harry. Followed by Dr. Toby Magina. We are calling upon Mr. Simon Picanho for a certificate of presentation. For David has come back. And then with a token of appreciation, we are calling upon Taiwo and Bade of the Solar. Oh, it looks very nice. Followed by Tebelo Maureen. Oh, inside there, Madam Tebelo. Then this thing. Sorry, Madam Taiwo, we never put this on your armrest. So there's a Kenyan thing inside here. Followed by Alicia Molsane. Followed by Ntami Abraham. Thank you very much, and we really appreciate you for coming to our country. Followed by Ntondo Richard Martin Maru. Thank you very much, all the way from Cameroon. Followed by Thomas Lefu Kambule. We are just trying to move very fast. Followed by Oluwole Samuel Odole. Followed by Teridayo John Anota. Followed by Michael Serampol Bonjour. Bonjour, Bonjour. Followed by Onesmus Kanzai. Followed by George Muva Sambo. That QR code, even if you try to scan it, cannot scan. We know how. We have a special detector that can scan it very well. And it's also sealed. Followed by Ntondo Emmanuel. And Ntondo Richard, the father, will take on his behalf. Followed by Modrasi Kwena. Modrasi Kwena. Followed by Retabile Mgrosi. If I cannot get the spelling wrong. Followed by Mojalifa Stanley Follow. Followed by Chidebo Chazivepi. Next will be Lazarus Tendai Fuma. The next one will be Olifi. Thank you for waiting patiently. I know you are supposed to be on your way. Followed by Robi Jaya. And that marks the end of issuing certificate of participation to our international delegates. Now to our Kenyan delegates. First, we want to start with Chilson Wamoja. The next one to receive is our Secretary General, Mr. Augustin Owino. Followed by our National Treasurer for Federal Services Association, Mr. John Morioki Mbugo. Followed by Nora Olive Wamboi. Here it's a please. We are going to now to Dennis Msumba Mahanu. Followed by Elijah Guga Oliga. Followed by Godfrey Ochieng Odhiambo. Following Godfrey is Jennifer Meram Aswan. Followed by John Ayere Oduol. Following Ayere is Joseph Juma Odongo. Following Joseph is Joyce Nduku Kifaya. Followed by Nicholas Kioko Kigo. Mwilu Kitivi. Followed by Stanley Wanaila Kimani. Followed by Visesia Okello. Thank you, sister, for coming all the way just to share with us. Because we are looking forward to partner with your health center and empower the morticians in the village. Followed by Virginia Wambui Mugani. The next following also, we don't forget our office. We are giving to Marcelina Masaviru. She will be followed by Ibeda Kahosa. We are calling upon Nick Macau from Kizimani. Nick. Thank you. Followed by Lucas Kisa. And finally, followed by our government agency representative, Dr. Oyo. And with that, we have come to the end of our issuance. So, and with that few remarks, we have come to the end of issuance of certificate, and I strongly believe each and every delegate who is here has received their certificate of participation, appreciation, and recognition. I hand over now. I really want to thank you very much, Dr. Makina, for being our guest speaker, Dr. Harry Close for also being our guest speaker, Madam Taiwo, Boikanyo, and the rest who have helped us to make this conference a success. But we cannot forget, it can never be a success without our Kenyan delegates who came all the way from all counties here in Kenya to make this conference a success. Because this conference would have not been a success without you coming. I'm really humbled, and I cannot take it for granted as we look forward for our 10th annual funeral conference, which we shall communicate by February or March. Thank you very much. Now I want to hand over this microphone to the African office to guide us.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. I hand over this mic to Dr. Hari to just thank the chairman, because he has thanked everybody and there's no one who has thanked him.
Chief, you gonna do the presentation? First of all, Mr. Chairman, let me thank you for inviting me, and Dr. Churchman sends her regards. We have some official business to do. Chief, I'm gonna give you the mic. That's right, we need you to come forward. Yes, I'm just making sure that this is a certificate of membership into the international member of the National Funeral Directors and Morticians Association in good standing from January 23 to December 23. It has myself as chairman and George Germ Jr. as national president. That's one. We have a resolution of thanks. As an oldest has been serving as president of Thank you. Whereby Ezra has endured to bring timely and thoughtful speakers to their annual and other conference. Whereas Ezra now is a member of who has joined the National Funeral Directors and Morticians Association. Be resolved that on this, we have the 17th, the 18th day of November 22, mombasa, Kenya, as the chairman of the board of the National Funeral Directors and Morticians Association and the international chair, applauds Ezra for the many good deeds and accomplishments. Be further resolved that a copy of this resolution has been given to Ezra Arlick and the copy placed on the records of the National Funeral Directors and Morticians Association, signed by myself and Dr. Church. This pen has been around since 1924, but in 2019 I had it redesigned to have the International Association. So pen you. I don't know where I wrote the shoe on the pen. It's not heavy. And the next person, Chief. Regina Kitwe. That's that correct? All right. This is your membership for 2023 January to December, the member of the International. I am not going to pin you, but this is good for your business. John Otolo. John Otolo, you want to take it from him? Okay, thank you. also, Mr. Chairman. Okay, thank you. Chief, that's it?
Thank you very much, Dr. Coates. And I've got the forms here if you want to be a member of the International Funeral Directors Mortician Association. I've got the forms, you get the forms, fill out the form, and they will talk a little bit later. I know to get a visa is a problem, but I'm here to represent the whole Africa. Then I'll get a letter, invitation letter from US, then I'll do also a covering letter. Then with those two letters, there is no way that they can refuse to give you a visa. Thank you.
Everything on that table, please take with you. Magazines, whatever you want on that table. I'm not taking it back. Amen.
Thank you, Dr. Ali. I think at this point in time, unless Chief, you have something to say, I'll head over to the Chief to there's something else to say. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I'm going to call upon Mr. Wamoja. Mr. Wamoja, come. Mr. Wamoja, President Ezra Oleg, come. Thank you very much. Now we are here to give the award. The award, the 2022 award. It's not me, but it's Fusak who did that. Can you say something so that we can carry on with this one?
First, I would like to thank the leadership and the Office of African Federation for the honor that have bestowed on me to be their president. Secondly, I'm honored and humbled to be recognized as the national member of National Funeral Directors and Morticians Association in the United States. I'm also humbled to be given a badge which is unique. It doesn't come in an easy way, and this shows the hard work that has been put by the association. I'm not the one who has been driving this. We drive it as a team, and as you saw, our patron was here and he was very happy to see the success. I don't have much to say because I'm so much excited, and words normally evaporates. They always come when we are sitting at the back. So, Chief Bwekanyo, I don't have much to say. That's only what I can say. Thank you very much for the good work you are doing to this organization and the entire Africa. We really appreciate, and also being the representative of NFDMA in Africa from the United States of America. Thank you.
We have some gems here that are being awarded to those who participated in this conference. And this award reads, and then I'll read the person going to receive gem that you value as a participant. The president is giving you. Okay, this other award goes to somebody who has also participated and made this conference and the annual ones a success for the work that they have done. And it reads this way: this award is presented with grateful thanks and humble gratitude in recognition of hard work in funeral services in Kenya, presented again on this 18th day of November 2022, Mombasa, Kenya. And this award goes to Elizabeth Auma Aoga. Elizabeth Auma Aoga from the city of. So they'll receive that on their behalf and hand it over to them. Thank you very much. Now these are the award goes to across the borders in recognition and appreciation in your hard work and contribution in the funeral industry in Kenya, presented again on the 18th day of November 2022, Mombasa, Kenya. It goes to Tebelo Maureen Rakong, that is for local funeral services in Northwest South Africa. South Africa. Hasn't she dressed for the occasion? She's saying she doesn't dress for the occasion, but the smile tells it all. She's dressed for the occasion.
Thank you very much. Then we are going to another level. This time I'm going to talk to my Chomi, Mrs. Chomi Gimani. Please, can you just go and rest and sit down? I think you're tired. Over.
Thank you very much. We are finished. As you can see, we shall keep on motivating our members. These awards doesn't come easily. We do background research. We see what you are doing in the industry. We see how you are impacting the life of other people in the society. So we do a lot of research. For you to get this award, know that we have done a lot of background check. Now, as the president of African Federation of Funeral Services, the honor has been bestowed on me that we are going to give an award known as AFFS Award, because after Fusak, we now going to the level of AFFS Award to recognize the people who are doing great across Africa. And over to that.
Sorry, my sister Taibo, can you come on board? Can you come here, please? Thank you.
Thank you very much.
So this award presented by African Federation Funeral Services 2022 International Award for hard work, outstanding commitment, dedication and achievement in the funeral industry in Africa, presented on this day of the 18th November 2022, Mombasa, Kenya, goes to Molefi Mesha Pupane, that is Pupane Funeral Home, South Africa. Hope I pronounced it. Now this is an award for recognition. This is again presented by African Federation Funeral Services 2022. This award is presented with grateful thanks and hard work, support and contribution towards the funeral industry globally, presented on this day, 18th November 2022, Mombasa, Kenya. This goes to, how I get the name, it is Onkalma Kwame Funeral is kept South Africa. I hope so.
Where's Dr. Close? Harry Close? He's gone away. We want him now here. Please, we want him right away now here. Somebody can just go and call him, we want him here. Not tomorrow, but now.
Yes, you can continue.
So we go to the next award presented by African Federation of Funeral Services 2022. International Award of Excellence, your outstanding commitment and support towards the funeral profession in Africa, presented on this day, 18th November 2022, Mombasa, Kenya, goes to Dr. Chomi Makina, Harare, Zimbabwe.
Yes, as you can see, we shall keep on recognizing those who are trying to do wonders, those who are transforming the industry, both locally, regionally, and internationally. Because we strongly believe this is one way of motivating you to push and go to the greater heights. For these awards, takes a little more time just to come up with, because there's a board that sits and decides. So you can see how we have gone global and trying to come with an award that we want at least each and every person to be outstanding in the industry for the greatest achievement they are trying to do. So as we wait for Dr. Harry, we keep on saying that wherever we go back to our respective countries, we have spent most of our time, we have even denied some of us sleep, so to make this thing a success. It is a success because of you. It is a success because you have truly believed in us. And we say we shall never disappoint, and we shall keep on going to the greater heights, so that when it comes to the near future, everybody will work to come and work in the funeral profession. This is one of the best professions that you can ever find. This is a profession that for you to be known as an embalmer or a funeral director, at least a minimum of 1 year education, because there's a lot to learn. As you saw what Dr. Harry was trying to present, this cannot be a 3-month course, never. 3 months is just being shown how the mortuary looks like, and introduction, even not in introduction, because even doing introduction to pathology, it's something else. It's like you are going deep. Introduction to chemistry, you are going deep. Microbiology, just as Madam Taiwo was trying to explain to us. We saw she took over 2 years to learn it. But it's a bad scenario here in Kenya, and I'm not sorry to say that after 3 months that you are qualified. Since this course of 3 months started, we have checked over 1,000 people who are unemployed because there's no proper career progression. There's no proper process of if you leave point A, how are you going to point B? Within 3 months, for those years, 1,000 people are outside looking for a job. After 3 months, they have forgotten each and everything that they were taught. So you can carry even a troca gun and ask them, what is this? They cannot explain. You can ask them, how do you burn? They cannot explain. So this is a wake-up call that as an association and working with the government agencies, we want to develop a proper curriculum. And please note, you cannot offer that course in this Republic of Kenya. And this is a message that I'm taking to all universities and colleges and all government agencies. You cannot offer any course curriculum without the key stakeholders who understand the industry. That's why when these people come out, it gives us a problem to retrain them again. That's why when they go to other facilities for internal attachment, they need to be retrained again. And it gives us a lot of challenges. And you find that this is the place whereby they are highly associated with risks in the mortuary where they are being taken to do their attachment. They are exposed to high risk. So we are saying you cannot ignore the stakeholders. If you want to move ahead, you must involve the key stakeholders so that they guide you on what to do. We have all the course content, and we have Madam Taiwo here who is ready to help us to come up with proper curriculum. Dr. Harry is here, qualified, certified funeral practitioner. Dr. Machina, who sits in many boards of the universities in Zimbabwe, they are ready to help us here, and other funeral industries across the world, so that we come up with a proper curriculum that can be embraced all over, not only in Africa, but globally. That's why sometimes I get a challenge when some people want to work outside the country. They go, I refer them to other countries, but when they see somebody just has done 3 months, they say, no, my friend, that's not a course. It's like you are trying to do introduction. So it gives a challenge even to those people that they highly want Kenyan people to work outside, but they cannot because it gives them a challenge of how to employ them. Because a 3-month course cannot be a working course for anybody in the funeral industry. So you need to work with us, so that's why you find that if you even go to other countries, they prefer see how many seminars and conferences have you attended. If it's in Kenya, it's for Funeral Services Association of Kenya, they will really appreciate and see where to start and absorb you. In those few remarks, may I hand over again the mic to our office, AFFS.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chair. Dr. Chomi Makina, I think you are fine now. Come. Thank you very much. The sister, can you just now this time we have an award. This is not an ordinary award. This is another award that somebody created, that you and you and you, myself, one day, as my brother was saying, that was the first time to get into the plane to go to Zimbabwe. But this award is an award that is going to create that you and you must go to the United States to the convention. You are not going to pay any cent, but this award is going to make sure that you are there, ticket, accommodation, and everything. Not only in the United States, but also in South Africa. In fact, the whole world, this award will do that you reach that destination. But on that time, I'm going to call upon Dr. Claude. When I was in US about October, because I'm a dreamer, by the way, I dream that I need Joseph in my life. And Africa needs Joseph. We need somebody who can take us to another level. And the only person that I dreamed about, and I want him to be Africa Joseph, it's here. Our children, children, I'm talking about the third generation now, will know that there was a man in Africa who did wonders. There was a man in Africa, your name, yes, you'll go and rest, but your name will never rest in Africa. Your name will be here forever and ever. But this few words, thank you to be my chairman of the board, thank you to be my president, and thank you to be my mentor. Where is my brother? Come.
Okay. So this award, the Harry P. Post, the second Africa Funeral Professional Excellence for the Year Award, presented to Dr. Harry P. Close II for the outstanding work and support to the funeral profession globally, presented on this 18th day of November 2022 in Mombasa, Kenya, and this goes now this.
This award first is presented to Dr. Harry Close. The first person here of the name is Olak Ezra, the President of African Federation of Funeral Services. What a great honor.
Thank you, Dr. Harry Close, for being a mentor and a teacher and an example, of an ethical leader. Congratulations, well done.
I therefore present this to you on behalf of the African Federation Funeral Service Directors and Morticians in Kenya and Ghana. Thank you and God bless you.
And let's see.
I'm just humble. I'm thankful that I'm speechless.
The shortest verse in the Bible, and Jesus wept, and His humble. And with that few remarks, and after giving awards, we have come to the end of Fusak 9th Annual Funeral Conference 2022 that was held here in Mombasa. How many people enjoyed at this time being in Mombasa at the conference? Thank you very much. Also, it was enjoined by African Federation of Funeral Services. We are really in support of any organization in Africa. As the president, we shall make sure that any country that organizes an event, we shall never miss. And it's a challenge now to other member countries. Come together, form unity, be members and form organization. Not only AFFS that was presented here, also an international funeral association was presented here under National Funeral Directors and Morticians Association. Their representatives were here. As you can see, Madam Taiwo is here with us. Simon Chief Koikanyo is also here with us. Also, don't forget that also International Funeral Operative was here, and one of the council member is here standing beside me, Dr. Chomi Makina. Thank you very much. It's an international organization and it's a national conference, and I hope you have enjoyed the YouTube channel and the live streaming. If you didn't watch, you can just go back and see what has been happening all along. So you can give me your contacts and we share so that we can send you the photos. I don't want to forget our Kenya Bureau of Standards. Government representative, can he come up here at least to also close for us? Because it's the one who is going now to set the guidelines and regulation in our industry. Just to give us a word of encouragement. Dr. Oyo, he is my boss in the working committee at the Kenya Bureau of Standards. And I'm honored to be also the chairman of the technical working committee. You see, it's very rare to be carried in a blue number plate here in Kenya.
I know we are all angry, but a big challenge, to say a thing which I don't have much. I would only say that I'm quite humble to be amidst you. I'm also quite humbled to have gained the knowledge that I gained, because initially when we were looking at the service, it was like a made-up car from Europe. When you're looking at a car for the first time, you don't know whether it has got the engine, you don't know whether it has got the seats inside, you don't know how it works. That is the way service was supposed to me. Until one day, through my office, I stumbled across the technical committee, and I was going there simply to give a word of encouragement, only to get myself immersed deeper and deeper. I think today I'm getting into deepest. I want to thank all of you for that contribution. I also have to say this, that you have made me a better person now, and therefore expect better services. For this, I want to say one thing. May the Almighty God thank you. And for our friends who are leading us going to their respective countries, we We wish you journey success. Thank you.
Thank you, man. And in those few remarks, may we call upon Dr. Harry Close to close our 9th annual funeral conference with a word of prayer.
Before Dr. Harry closes this meeting, I would like to announce to you that we have our annual conference, the NFGAMA in Atlanta in next year September next year July to August. July, August. So you are all invited, Atlanta, Georgia. Thank you.
Amen. Amen. Let me just say thank you to the man of God. Thank you for allowing me to stand in your stead. Let us pray. Father, we just come and close of this meeting. You have been invoked here, but now we invoke you as we go into every country in this continent, to every country that's represented. We invoke you in our lives, Lord, that you will get the glory and honor. We invoke you in our homes, Lord, that there will be peace, that Pastor will understand. We invoke you into our communities where we serve and in our governments, that they will come and humble themselves before you. And then, Father, we ask you to touch everyone in this profession from the top of their head to the sole of their feet and purge them iniquity. Nail them to the cross in their hands and their feet. Put the 39 specks upon their back, the 72 bones upon their head. Pierce their side and lift us up, Lord, not to draw people to us, but through us to get to thee. Lord, let us know that we come to serve you and magnify you for you, O God. We ask you to move from this great continent across the globe to let us know that you are God. Move every building that needs to be built. Move every building that needs to be done. Move every law that needs to be present. Move every person that they will be understanding that you are God and there is no other. You be our Father, we will be your children. You be our shepherd, we will be your sheep. You be our potter, we will be your clay, that you will mold us and shape us as we shall